Why wearing elbow braces, straps, or bands for tennis elbow won't help you heal and recover. Should you wear a tennis elbow brace as treatment for tennis elbow like the ones pictured below or not? If so, which ones work best and how do you choose? In most instances, you should not be bracing your arm when you have tennis elbow. Of course, like anything, there are exceptions to the rule. You can wear one when you are playing tennis, golf, or any other sport or activity where you are using your injured arm for repetitive movements and tasks, but only for short durations, 1 to 2 hours maximum, and then you should remove it. For obvious reasons, you should be limiting the amount of time you're using your affected arm when you have tennis elbow and cut back on activities that increase your elbow pain. Wearing any kind of splint, brace, strap, or splint on your elbow while walking around, sitting around in your house, sleeping, or at your office is a definite no-no. But what if medical experts say that you should be wearing an elbow brace when you have tennis elbow? Are they wrong? Normal thinking would suggest that wearing a brace around any sort of soft tissue injury would only provide pain relief and support, but here's what you really need to know about these medical gadgets. Tennis elbow is an injury that doesn't benefit from your affected arm being totally immobilized or restricted for days or weeks on end. I can tell you with full and complete confidence that it will not help improve your recovery time. If you've been sporting and using any kind of support, strap, tape, or brace on your elbow, you may be wondering why your elbow feels better when you're wearing it. But does feeling good really mean that your injury is actually healing and getting better? Again, normal thinking is that if your arm feels better, then the brace must be doing its job, right? It should be to no surprise to you to learn that there are various interventions and ways to make your elbow pain feel better and have less pain. Anti-inflammatory pills, icing your arm numb, resting your arm, getting painful cortisone shots, applying anti-inflammatory creams. What all these so-called treatments really do is they provide symptomatic relief and don't do anything whatsoever to address the damage that's been done to your forearm extensor muscles and tendons. Why is it that these popular devices don't help tennis elbow at all? Especially when you think about what happens when you suffer a broken arm. You are put in a cast so the bone can heal. What is it that's so different about tennis elbow? First thing is that tennis elbow has very little in common with broken bones or even a sprain. For most people who suffer from tennis elbow, the tear to your extensor muscle or tendon is rarely ever severe. But what if you have a tiny tear to your muscle or tendon at your elbow? Most people think they have one because the pain is so sharp and numbing that you automatically think the worst case scenario. While it is true that when you have tennis elbow, it is your extensor tendon that can develop these small, tiny tears. The fact of the matter is that these tears that occur in your tendon almost never develop overnight or are caused by blunt force trauma to your elbow. Your injury has taken some time to develop and it happened gradually over time. What you need to know is that because it is a tendon injury, they take some time to heal, and when they do start to heal, they do so very slowly. For the simple fact that tendons don't get a good supply of blood. For the majority of tennis elbow sufferers, it is not that your injury is getting worse, it's that your tendon is not healing at all. In other words, your tendon is breaking down. It's also known as tendinosis. As I said, your tendon does not get a good supply of blood, which it needs to start healing and repairing itself. The last thing you want to do is restrict the blood flow or circulation to your elbow with an elbow brace, strap, support, or tape. Wearing a tennis elbow brace restricts the movement of the muscles and tendons in your forearm around your elbow. They compress the tissues and blood vessels around your elbow. Obviously, the tighter the strap, the brace, support, or tape, the more restriction there will be. In order to start healing, your muscles and tendons need to be able to move freely, without limitations or restrictions. Another really bad thing about wearing these gadgets is that the compression around your elbow promotes the buildup of scar tissue. The greater the buildup of scar tissue, the less you'll be able to move your arm freely, because this scar tissue impedes the free movement of your muscles and tissues. In summary, you should only wear an elbow brace for tennis elbow for short durations when exercising or playing sports, no longer than 2 hours maximum. If you've really torn your extensor tendon, this can only be verified with an MRI. So what should you do for your tennis elbow if braces are not the solution? What works best as far as treatment goes? Instead of wasting your time and money on supports, braces, and splints, tennis elbow, what you really need to be focusing on is how to build up the strength in your forearm extensors and tendons. You can do this using a doctor-approved home treatment program for tennis elbow, which can be found over at www.tenniselbowtips.com.